Welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm taking another break from section hiking the Florida Trail to go international for another epic adventure that I've had on my bucket list for quite some time now, and that is to thru hike the island of Madeira. Now, my family already planned a trip to Lisbon and Porto, so I'm using the week beforehand to check Madeira off of my bucket list. This trip will be incredibly special, not just for like the hiking portions, but also because my great grandparents are supposedly from Madeira. So this journey will be a cultural reunification with my heritage, which would be pretty exciting. So I can't wait to experience and share it with y'all. So in this video, I'm just going to give a quick overview of my plan, route, and what makes this hike so unique. Now, this is my first time fully creating my own through hike, which is kind of exciting, but also a step into the unknown. There's not going to be any blazes or trails or markings along the way. It's pretty much just all of me to navigate myself from point A to point B around this island. But I did use for inspiration two existing trails. One that's less well known, the Camino Real, and then one that's more popular, the Madeira Island Ultra Trail, to create my own path around this island. Now, if you're not familiar with Madeira, it's a small island off the coast of Morocco. It's only about 35 miles long from the westernmost point to the easternmost point, and it is roughly 14 miles wide, north to south. However, this island is very mountainous. The highest point is Pico Huivo. I think I said that right. At 6,109 feet or 1,862 meters. But it's very mountainous throughout the entire island. So there'll be a lot of elevation gain that I'll encounter along the way. But altitude-wise, not that high. So I don't think I'll have to worry about altitude sickness because it's not high enough. All right, so just to give you guys an idea of the two routes that I took inspiration from, I overlaid them in Google Maps, so you can see this right here. The one in blue is the Camino Real, so that is a coastal path that goes around the entire island of Madeira. And then you have the MIUT, this is the 2025 route that goes from Porto Muniz to Machico, and it covers mostly the northern portion of the island. It goes inland and then it goes along the coast. So I'll be following that, certain sections of that as well. So I'll be able to get the best of both worlds. Because I really I want to experience both the peaks and also the coastline hiking as in one kind of continuous loop if I could, because both just looked amazing and I wanted to experience as much of the island as possible. So the loop I created, to help me illustrate that, I created another overlay on a different map here, which you can see in this kind of brown magenta path with all these different icons that I have along the way. It's a 130-mile loop starting at the airport down here, and then I'll be hiking clockwise, so kind of south and then into the mountains and then back down towards the coast and then up on the ridge and then up north around there all the way back to the airport. I'll be doing this in over 12 days. I think one of the days is a 0 day. And then I'm expecting about 45,000 feet in elevation gain, which is pretty behemoth, pretty aggressive, pretty bold. So we'll see how it goes. If I need to take an Uber or a Bolt at some point, then I will. But I think I'm pretty confident I should be able to do this. I'm no stranger to elevation. I've hiked Mount Meru in Tanzania, which was over 15,000 feet. I've hiked in Ecuador, which was very steep, and then most recently I hiked in Thailand, where uh, I hiked up Doi Inthanon and Doi Sutet. So I feel like I know what I'm getting myself into for the most part. Okay, so let's jump into the day-to-day itinerary real quick. So, as I already mentioned, barring everything goes well with my flights, I land here late morning. I hike about 9 miles on day one to Poiso campsite where I'll spend the night. Day two, there is a bus stop here at the Abrigo de Poiso restaurant. So I'll be taking the bus bright and early up to Pico Aéreo, where I'll be doing an out and back to Pedro Rija, which that's as far as you can go on the PR1. I found out late that this was actually open, which unfortunately expanded, you know, distance wise, my day two. But I knew I couldn't pass this up because that's a stairway to heaven, one of the most iconic hikes in Madeira. So when you go to Madeira, everyone does that. So I knew I had to include that in my route. Then from there, I take the PR3 all the way down to Monte Palace, which I wanted to see. Heard it's a beautiful garden, very scenic. From there, I take the cable car, which looks pretty fun, all the way down to Funchal. And then I continue my hike there along the coastline all the way to Ribeira Brava. Now, this is going to be a long day. I'm not sure if I'll be able to hike the entire way, so we'll see. We're going to monitor that progress as we move along here. Now, on day three, I hike from Ribeira Brava along the coast, up into the mountains, along the ridge line to Fonte Bispo, which is a campsite on kind of more like the western part of the island. And then day four, so I spend the night there. Day four, wake up early. I hike down through the mountains all the way out to the westernmost point at Ponte do Pargo. I'll tag the western terminus there before I continue northbound, mostly road walk through Achadas da Cruz, all the way into Porto Moniz, where I'll end the day at the camping park where I'll spend the night. And then day five, I go from Porto Moniz up to Fanal, which is a very famous laurel forest in Madeira. Everyone goes there as well, so I have to see that. It looked really cool. Looks like a whole different world there. And then after that, I descend into Seychelles and continue my coastal walk all the way to São Vicente, where I'll spend the night there at a hotel. Then for day six, I start out early from São Vicente, do a coastal walk to, Ponta Delgada, and then I do another scenic hike at São Cristóvão. Really excited about that one. And then I continue along to Ilha, where I end day number 6. Day number 7, I'll be summiting Pico Rivo. So I take the PR 1.1, I think that's the island path, all the way up to summit Huivu. And then from there, I descend back down PR 1.2, I believe, all the way into Santana, where I'll spend the night at a B&B there. Day 8, I go from Santana to Fayal, where I have a special hike planned there, a very steep one, at Penha de Aguia. I think it's probably one of the steepest parts on the island from what I researched. So that'll be one hell of a day. It'll be short distance-wise, but elevation gain should be pretty gnarly. And then I end up in Porta de Cruz that night. And day 9, I get up early and I hike along the coast here, this cliffside trail, the Vereda de Lorando to Boca de Risco, which should be pretty scenic, I believe, and from what I've researched, an amazing hike. All the way down into Canicel, and then turn to go into the peninsula, where I end at the Dreams Madeira Resort and Spa. This is where I decided to kind of spend some money on myself through this all-inclusive resort, so I don't have to worry about paying for food or anything. Eat as much as you want, drink as much as you want. All the amenities are included, so excited to check that place out for the day and night there. The following day, day 10, I do the PR8, which is one of the best hikes that you can do in the island of Madeira. Totally different than all the other ones. It goes all the way out into this, like, I think you can only go so far. You can't go all the way out here. I think it stops like right around here. Yeah. But this is the easternmost point, so I'll be tagging the eastern terminus as well, at least as far as I can go out into this peninsula here. So that is an out and back, the PR8. I think it's in total only 3 miles. Then I turn back around, and then I think at the beginning of the PR8, you can catch a bus that'll take you to Canicel, so I wouldn't have to walk, the rest of this peninsula again, because pretty much this is an out and back. There's only one way there and one way back. So hopefully I can catch a bus back to Canicel. And then from Canicel, I'll hike along this coast here, which looks pretty cool, into Machico, where I'll spend the night there. And then the following day will be a 0 day where I can hang out at the beach, eat, chill, get laundry done before I fly into Lisbon on day 12. So day 12, the next day, I'll be hiking from Machico along this kind of highway, coastal route, all the way back to the airport there, thus completing the entire hiking loop and through hike for Madeira. So that's my plan. Pretty aggressive, pretty bold. We'll see how it goes. Keep you all posted. But that's it. Now, planning for this was very challenging. I started roughly 3 months ago, and almost everything was already booked up. So if you're going to plan to go to Madeira, you definitely want to plan early, at least 6 months in advance. Now, what I'm packing is just the usual hiking gear, waterproof gear, long sleeves, short sleeves, warm and cool temperatures. That's what you have to pack for pretty much. I'm expecting a fair amount of rain, cooler temperatures up in the mountains. I'll be doing a lot of road walking, unfortunately. That it just, you can't avoid it. I'll be going through a few tunnels because I'm hiking, parts of the coastline. I've scouted I've scouted plenty of resupply points, so I'm not worried there since you're pretty much going from town to town. There's always a restaurant or a cafe that you'll walk into. But I'm most excited to meet people, practice my Portuguese, eat amazing food, and just overall, reconnecting with my Portuguese heritage. That should be pretty cool. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you've hiked Madeira before, let me know down in the comments your favorite trails, your favorite lavadas. But otherwise I'll be posting as frequently as I can, also on Instagram and X as well for additional kind of behind the scenes and bonus content. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and the adventure is just a few days away. So next time you see me, I should be en route and then on trail.